Hey guys, DMS here. Today I have for you the Triangle Borea 5.1. Let's check it out. Now do me a favor, if you want to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. If you want to support the channel and ask me questions directly, you can on the Telegram chat, or you can get active in the community on Hi-Fi Guides. I don't know if I pronounced that right, Borea. Now, normally this comes with the BR03s, but I got this with the BR08 towers and the BR02s as the rears. Same triangle center channel. I'm using my SVS SB3000 subs. Now, I kind of want to do individual videos on some of these things, like separate out the towers and the bookshelves, because they're all super cool. But I'm going to talk about this as a surround sound set and just a little bit about the towers on their own in this video. Now, I am no stranger to surround sound. For a long time, I used the SVS Ultras that I talked about quite a bit with the prime satellites in the rears, and the Ultra bookshelves or Ultra towers in the fronts with a little center channel speaker. I've set up the surround sound as well with Mica RB42s. I've done it with Vandersteins, I've done it with the Magnepans, all kinds of things. And now with the triangles, which is what's currently set up in there. Now with the BR03s as the rears, this is around $2,300 on Amazon. I think it's a little bit cheaper if you're going with the BR02s as the rears instead. All things considered, that is not a lot of money for 5 channels. 2 towers, a center channel, and 2 speakers for the rears. On their own, if you set up the towers, it's a very well-rounded speaker. It extends pretty low, it's got a nice solid punch to it. I feel like the main focus of this speaker is the mid-range capabilities of it, because I feel like this speaker is not super aggressive, but relatively aggressive in its presentation. It is unafraid to tell you exactly how something sounds. And I feel like the most forward part of this speaker's presentation is in its sort of upper mid-range, and I feel like there's a little bit more energy in that part of the speaker's range. It never encroaches upon sibilant or harsh territory, which is interesting. It sort of reminds me of the sound of very well-tuned biocellulose dynamic drivers in headphones. You know, that sort of upper mid-range timbre characteristic that gives them a sort of refinement. The trade-off in that being that they are a slightly brighter leaning speaker, but this doesn't mean they sound thin, because they don't. It's a slightly brighter leaning speaker that doesn't go into sibilant territory, but is still very, very full-bodied and rich in its low-end presentation. I kind of love these things. Now, I guess I still also love the SVS towers, and I still love the Magnepans. They all just do different things so well, you know? I'm looking at a set of them on my computer monitor. The BR08, the towers, on their own stand fine, and I found that they really sounded the best if I use, once again, New Record Days LOTS method, which I will, as I have many times before, link that in the video description. That is a great video on speaker placement. If I use the guides in that video to place the towers on their own, the soundstage opens up completely. If I have them just in standard placement, the speakers are a little bit directional until I get them just in that sweet spot, and then they disappear. I do think it's a lot easier to get the Magnepans to disappear, and I do think it's a little bit easier also to get the Ultra bookshelves to disappear. But when the triangles disappear, when you get those towers in just the right spot, it's an experience that I only usually get in very expensive speakers. And not necessarily in terms of depth or staging, but in terms of detail presentation. Sure, there are speakers in the world that are more detailed and more expensive. But when I got those just right, and I put on a record, the song Dreams, Fleetwood Mac comes to mind. The beginning of that recording has so much space hidden in it, and so many fine little details. And when you get it just right, it feels like those details are both directly unimpeded by the normal acoustic impedance of the room, and carry with them a sense of space and power. And in a number of times I found myself sitting there thinking, I have not heard this recording before in this capacity, and certainly not in this presentation. The closest thing I can think of to that is a set of very expensive Vandersteins I heard at Rocky Mountain Audio Fest. I want to say they were somewhere in the $20,000 range for a pair. And the big difference being the Vandersteens were not set up perfectly, and in this situation the triangles are set up perfectly, but we're talking about a difference of well over 10 times in price to get an experience that, to my memory, is comparable. Now granted, I don't think you're going to just throw them in a room with zero effort and get that blissful experience. As with mini speakers, you do need to take the time to set them up and to really fine-tune things. But I surely believe that these towers are very, very capable if you're willing to put in the effort to set them up. Imaging-wise and soundstage-wise, they are a bit picky on what is in between the speakers. Using them in the surround sound set, I had them in several different configurations, at one point with the subwoofers in between them and the television on a stand. Then I put the TV on the wall and eventually moved my subs out to the sides. And interestingly enough, the TV did help a lot, but moving my subs out to the sides made the biggest difference when I was just running the speakers by themselves. Something about that center mass between the speakers really sort of blocked off what they were capable of in between one another. And when I opened up that space and only had the center channel between them, they completely changed. Now this didn't matter as much if I pulled the speakers out into the room more, but when I had them closer to the wall and I was using them in a surround sound capacity, that made a big difference. Now as a complete surround sound, I'm very, very happy with these. The center channel isn't super warm. It retains the same kind of characteristic, decent low end, but mostly focused on the upper mid-range and treble. Not sibilant, very, very clear in vocal delivery. I did find myself giving the center channel just a little bit more volume, like a decibel to a decibel and a half, but that was in my particular room, and your mileage may vary on that. You may not need to. But that's another thing that when I got it to that sweet spot, it was very, very rewarding. Some of the movies I like to watch to test out surround sound is the current standing John Wick trilogy. Excellent movies, really goofy, it's a lot of action, a lot of unrealistic stuff, but if you're a dude, you've probably seen John Wick at some point. I don't think anyone really dislikes those movies, but they're mixed very, very well. The sound design is fantastic. A lot of attention to where things rest spatially within the mix of that movie. It's a great test for subs, it's a great test for highs and mid-range, because if something ever encroaches upon sibilance, that movie will find it. There's a lot of highs in that movie, especially in action scenes. The triangles handled every gunshot, every yell, every time glass broke or people were in a crowded room with, I would say, effortless precision. At no point during watching these movies did I feel like I was pulled out of the immersion by the mix, or that anything particular stood out to me that broke my immersion and made me think of the speakers around me. Instead, the speakers disappeared and I felt like I was very seamlessly connected with the content I was consuming. And that's a good experience. The triangles are a very direct data sort of interaction. The speaker is very honest with you, it's very upfront. It does call out to itself and its position unless you are very, very particular about positioning it. Though as a 5.1, it's more than good enough coverage for everyone sitting on a couch, and you don't have to be in that perfect sweet spot. Overall, if that's the timbre characteristic you're looking for, I've enjoyed these speakers a lot, and I look forward to doing some side-by-side comparisons between them and some other towers that I have here. I think a big point with speakers for me is that usually I don't think that mini speakers are bad. I think that most speakers are very good, it just comes down to what sort of presentation and timbre characteristics you're looking for. And all the speakers that I've reviewed, I feel like portray different characteristics that very well fit the needs of different types of people looking for different sounds. And I hope that in this video I've described the sound of the Triangle Borea 5.1 with the BRO2s in the rear. I think I am going to do a video dedicated to the BRO2s by themselves also, because those are pretty affordable as a bookshelf speaker and they're honestly pretty good. If there's anything I didn't answer in this video, any questions you have about these speakers, the surround sound system, leave in the comments down below and I will try and answer it if I get time to. But other than that, please leave a like down below if you like this video. If you want to get active in the community, you can at forum.hifiguides.com. And as always, don't forget to stick around and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Until the next one, guys. Peace.